Um, okay, well, what I might do actually is get out of that and ask them to introduce themselves because they know themselves better than I do. Or maybe Leonie, I could probably tell you a few stories there. But we have 4 of our most longest standing members here just to come up and share some of the experiences that they've experienced over the years of membership as practitioners and being members of AMT. So just discussing changes, things that have happened, funny stories, how standards have changed, how they were trained in the earlier years, how the training has changed from what we do these days. So really the floor is open for the 4. So thank you for coming and joining us. And if you'd like to start, we've got a couple of mics somewhere. Here they are. Who would like to start first? Wendy, would you like to start first, just introducing yourself? Yeah.
Hello. Hello, yes, my name is Wendy Rose Williams. So it was Wendy Rose at the time I joined the association. So we're just doing the introductions first.
No, go ahead and say, when did you join and when did you train?
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Let me get I've written it all out. Sorry, everybody. I've got time. Well, I wanted to say, I wanted to acknowledge Tamsin and I wanted to acknowledge the other speakers on the panel today. I'm very pleased to be here at this special event for their 50th anniversary. So a happy birthday to everybody. I joined the New South Wales Association of Masseurs in June 1983, having recently completed my qualifications in Swedish massage after about 12 to 18 months of training at the Sydney School of Swedish Massage, which was run by Pat Harding. And he was one of the few private schools offering training at that time. And I continued on that year with a diploma from the School of Remedial Massage, which was in Avalon, another private school, and they were linked with ARM. 1983 was a very big year for me as I became the owner of a business called the Mossman Suntan Centre in Spit Junction, with the idea that I could convert one of the suntan rooms into a massage room, giving me an income whilst I was building up my massage practice. And this did happen quite successfully, which eventually led me to needing help with bookings because people were walking in and having appointments for solarium visits, and I was also engaged with massage clients. So masseurs and masseuses at that time were not seen as legitimate therapists to the general public. And you had to be very careful when taking appointments in making sure that you explained that there were no extras in your treatments and that you preferred underwear to be left on. A thick skin was definitely an asset. There's no pun intended there. It was the sports industry that over time gave the practice of massage the legitimacy it rightly deserved. So we have a lot to thank the Australian Sports Medicine Federation for, as well as the AIS with the sports medicine and research programs which began in the early 1980s. My first recollection of being involved with sports massage and the New South Wales Association of Masseurs was in 1984, when a colleague asked if I would take over the organisation of the Wang Marathon in June of that year, which turned out to be a very successful event, and this led me to be involved with other events that New South Wales AM sponsored, such as the Senior Citizens Days, subsequent Wang Marathons and the Foster Triathlons on the northern coast of New South Wales. Excuse me. At some point, I think in 1985, the New South Wales AM Board appointed me as the state and national coordinator of the newly formed Sports Massage Therapy Services Committee, which I think there were about 6 of us at that time. And I had the job of organising the 1985 weekend workshop held at the Sydney Academy of Sport and Recreation in Narrabeen with John Harris from the Sports Massage Institute in the USA. And we had over 60 members attend that. It was a highlight of New South Wales event. In April 1987, Cynthia Davis asked me to nominate for the President-Director, which I did, and Alan Troy was nominated as Vice President. At that time, Cynthia was deeply involved with her magnificent efforts at having massage therapy recognised as a TAFE accredited course. During my tenure, I felt the structure of New South Wales AM needed a bit of an update and set about to make some changes. So the standouts in that are the name, was the first standout. The Association of Massage Therapists New South Wales Limited was changed in 1988. And it was actually partly because of our entry in the Yellow Pages listing. We needed something to come before our rivals, which was Association of Medial Masseurs at that time, because we were a more professional group. Isn't that right, everyone? Or so we thought. The next change was a change from general membership. When I joined the association, there was just one level of membership. So it was changed to different levels of qualifications, which better suited the growing needs of an emerging profession. However, this created some unanticipated problems because the board had no proper mechanisms to evaluate members' applications. And I regret the delays that occurred as a consequence. It was Diana Glazer who fortunately saved the day, and by that time too, I think more resources were available to us through the TAFE Meadowbank campus. Another change was an introduction of a code of practice, which was an adjunct to our existing AMT membership certificate and the AMT Code of Ethics. Today, this has been well and truly revamped and improved upon to a very high degree, and all members should feel proud of, those changes. And I would just like to acknowledge the tremendous effort that has gone into its current form. So many congratulations to those who had input into it. Another change was an introduction of regional representatives. And I'm pleased to say that this has strengthened the growth and development of AMT quite significantly. Currently, you've got representatives in Sydney, around regional New South Wales and also nationally. This inclusion of members both near and far has led to a number of those regions having members nominated to the board as board members and president. So we can truly say that we are a representative body of highly qualified massage therapists. There are other establishments during my tenure, such as wet lab days. We introduced members' days. We introduced annual conferences started then too, and a broad newsletter as well, and the honorary AMT certificates that some of you have received today. All of it, of course, has been improved and is much better today than it was then, but it was the beginning. So thank you for this opportunity to speak, and many congratulations to all members of the New South Wales Association for continuing to support such a first-class association. You can all be proud of yourselves and of your boards, both past and present, for advancing the practice of massage therapy into such a highly respected and professional vocation. And long may this growth and development continue. So thank you, everyone.
Lovely. Very nice input. Thank you very much, Wendy. That was a very thorough account of your time with AMT. Thank you for sharing that. That was wonderful. You next cab off the rank, Leonie.
I'll be brief. I don't have anything prepared. In fact, Tamsin told me 2 days ago that I was doing this. She was meant to tell me earlier.
I might have forgotten that.
So I'm Leonie Dale. I feel like I've been around a long time. I actually joined AMT in 1988 and Wendy was the president then, so it has been a long ride and a long time. Why am I here? I guess Tamsin asked me to be here because I spent a lot of years investigating massage and cancer, and some of you may have been to conferences or workshops that I've done in that field. And that all came about because Tamsin and I started teaching in Blue Mountains in 1996, 20 years ago. The course actually started then. And in Massage Principles, Massage 101 as we'd call it now, it probably doesn't exist now, I don't know what it's still called now. Many of you will remember that assignment you had to do on the choose a condition, and cancer was one of them, and give the reasons why you can or cannot, and the contraindications against, massaging a client with that condition. And I think the main problem, or the main thing then, was that we'd all been taught really well. We'd all been taught too well that massage is contraindicated for anyone with cancer, or anyone, I think, who's had cancer, or anyone that, even mentions that word cancer. And so I taught, because I have a nursing background, I got to teach a lot of the health subjects of symptomatology, as it was then, pathology, pathophys. And that was Massage Principles, and we just taught that massage is contraindicated for people with cancer. And I always remember that one of the assignments came back, and so we were new to teaching, we were massage therapists, and I'd been a nurse, and marking assignments was another thing. But there was something in one of those first assignments about that it was actually okay, and it wasn't totally contraindicated, and it was like, wow, okay. And I'm an information junkie. I love information. I love research. Just give me everything, and I've got 1,000 books that I usually carry with me. And if I'd had more notice, I probably would have bought a few, but I didn't. And so I started investigating it, back then as to, well, what is this? Why or why not? And I started to find stuff around that it's not totally contraindicated, and there are many reasons why we would want to massage someone with cancer. And I actually did find last night, I don't have a lot of time anymore, I'm a grandmother now with twins and all this sort of stuff, so that's where my head is, so please forgive. A little booklet that was printed in 1992 by a massage therapist in London who worked at a cancer centre. And in 1992 she wrote, "Gone are the days where there is a blanket contraindication against massage and cancer." And I'm going, wow, 1992, I spent 10 years running this to ground to be totally, absolutely satisfied that I was doing no harm and trying to put that out there. And yet, workshops I'd give, people are out the door, that's all very well, but I'm not going to do it. So coming back to that, I think we were just taught so well not to. And so my investigations took, looking at websites, reading books, people like Gail MacDonald, Tracy Walton, Deborah Curtis, Tiffany Field, her name came up before, with the anorexia and the research and the amazing amount of research that she's done in massage therapy and cancer. So to me, it was, okay, it's evidence-based, and we can't keep sending people away and not massaging them. They're people, and what they go through when they're on that cancer journey, we've got to get our hands on them somehow. And so that was been my message. I've left that now. I always say when I move on, my nursing field was intensive care or coronary care. I pass it on to the next generation down, and I've done that with massage and cancer as well. And there are many great people now, and I'm hoping, we always wanted it in the training, and I'm hoping, and I think Marguerite can tell me that one, that there's actually in your diploma of massage training, there should be a component, hopefully, where you're learning how to massage people with cancer. And if that's your specialty, my soapbox has always been, if that's your specialty and that's what you want to specialise in, go do the courses and find out everything you need to so that your client is safe, but that you have peace of mind that you're doing no harm. Because there's a lot of physiology to learn about that you are actually doing no harm and you're doing a lot of good. But for all of you who have other clinics, you know, even I'm sure Max with a sports clinic and all the people with other clinics, there's going to be someone come in that's had cancer, no matter what sort of clinic you have. And that's where I've sort of tried to slot that you don't need to do really specialised courses and do, you know, spend thousands of dollars and do all this training when there's so much information there. But if you're like me and you've got to know that you're absolutely doing the right thing and know everything about it and want all the information, then yes, go to the courses. I went to Bristol Cancer Help in England. You know, I did courses in Queensland. I did courses, I read, I've done, you know, and I'm absolutely, totally satisfied that it's a great thing to do with the knowledge. So I was a state councillor up in the Blue Mountains. Tamsin joined me and took it, you know, then we had lots of TAFE students coming on board. So it's been a great time, it's been a good run, and I'm passing all that over now to you and to continue it on. But it was a really fulfilling, satisfying time. It was good. And it still is.
Excellent.
And it's great
Thank
to be here.
you. Thank you, Leonie.
My name's Max Metzker. My last name sounds like a bad Scrabble hand. They can never spell it. But it's like was just said, you follow your passion, whether it's cancer or something else. And my background is sport. I was involved in 2 Olympics as a swimmer, 1976 and 1980. So that's my first involvement with massage. Although when teams go away now, they might have 20 massage therapists. Back in 1975, when we went to the World Championships in Ecuador, the coach was the massage therapist, and he was about 84 years old then, so times have changed. But I hope if we have a Q&A session, if it can help anyone with what goes on on teams, because I've travelled with teams. I was with the Australian women's team for 5 years. I've done a couple of World Games campaigns with the Australian women's hockey team and the kayak team and taekwondo team. But what I've found is, if for any males in here that like to go on and follow sports teams, the problem with male masseurs on teams is you've got to have your standards. You never drop your standards at all. The biggest compliment a male masseur can get if he goes on a sporting team is when female teams recommend you to other female teams, because the sports world is very small and they all talk. And I started off with the women's water polo team. I was with them for 5 years, and they become good friends, the management become good friends. But then the hockey team, they were looking for a masseur, and obviously they asked the women's water polo team. So if you're a bit dodgy or anything like that, you'll never get recommended. And then it just went on from that. The female teams ask you, as well as co-ed teams, for want of a better term, ask you. But you never, ever drop your standards. I think you were saying that there's sometimes now they advertise just for female masseuses
right.
and things like that, which is discriminatory, because males seem to get a bad rap.
They can do, absolutely.
So to the males out there, just you never drop your standards. And also I find, you don't want to sugarcoat it, we're all the best soft tissue therapists going around. We're all very good. But on teams, we seem to be at the bottom of the food chain. When you've got your physios and your doctors, they seem to have this superiority complex that the masseurs on the team, you're nothing. Where in fact, I know, because I was an athlete on a team and then worked with the team, if they took a poll of every team that went away, do you want physios or doctors or masseurs? Masseurs will come up 100%. And also, like the lady said this morning, and also yesterday in the ankle seminar, getting the confidence of the athlete or the person on the team is the utmost. And masseurs, I think, and because of touch and we're tactile, when they come into your room, if you're in hotels or when you're at camps, they take you into their confidence. I don't see them taking physios and doctors into their confidence. All the physios do is either pin them or give them rubber bands. All the doctors, I don't think, do any work unless there's an absolute emergency on a team. If you have to do stitches or something like that. So often, if you ever do get on teams, you're going to have to bite your tongue. Let them think you're the bottom of the food chain, but you're not, because when you put your list on your door in the morning, who wants a massage, it's full. You look at the doctors and the physios list, it's nothing. And they're usually going past your room. I remember in Waikiki at the Taekwondo World Championships, bar list is as long as your arm on the door, and the doctor and the physio walk past and say, bye, we're going shopping and surfing. It's like... And then they come home and at 8 o'clock, all the staff say, we're going to dinner now. You're still in the room working. And they all go out to dinner and you're still working till 11 o'clock. And then when you're finished, you're out in the street at the local ABC store or in the cafe downstairs eating on your own. But if that's your love, you do it. You just take it on the chin. You don't worry about it. And you know that the athletes... You've got to be Switzerland, you've got to be neutral when you're on a team, and masseurs all are, because they open up to you on the table. You might be massaging one girl and she's bitching about the next girl that's got to come in, and you're working on her. But they know that you're not involved in selections or whatever, so they'll open up to you and tell you what they think. Whereas they don't open up to physios or doctors because they could possibly influence if they play the next day. So you've got to be aware of that confidentiality, always be neutral. And, well, they start treating you like a friend then. They'll say, listen, can I get you a cup of coffee? You've been stuck in the room for hours and all that sort of stuff. And that's a sense of satisfaction you get on the team. You don't have to have the acknowledgement of the doctor and the physio and the team staff, the staff and all that. It's when the athletes come to you and say, thanks very much, we hope you're on the team again next year or whatever. That's when you feel, I've done my job, I'll bite my tongue, I don't care what the others think. But if this is a Q&A session, later, if I can help you, because I don't know what you want to know, but if there's any questions you want to know, the male masseurs or anything, because there's no template to get on a team. There is a lot of luck. You've got to have ability, obviously, but everyone here does have ability. There's always a lot of luck, getting appointed. You don't just go, the best masseur in the universe could miss out on a team if he's not in the right place at the right time. But you still do obviously have to have ability, because they won't pick you again. So later during this talk, if there's any questions, please ask.
Lovely. Thanks, Max. You want to take it now?
How much time do we have?
I'm not sure. How are we going for time?
How long?
I'm not sure.
Oh, right. I started back in 1985.
How are we going for time?
And done all the courses like
Plenty
Paul
of time.
Keneally. Even though we're masseurs, when you get on the team as a sir, just remember this. It's not a big production what we do, but just doing soft tissue work, just make sure you do that little bit devastatingly well. I know we've done the courses and things like that, but you never get on a team and go outside your bounds that you might do in your clinic, because that's when the physios and doctors will look at you and go, hey, hang on, no, you're crossing the line there, we don't want a masseur, and you'll get given the flick, because there's a lot of glory hunters out there. They're all trophy hunters. I was with the women's water polo team for 5 years, and on the 6th year is when they got Olympic status back in Sydney, 1996. So they were going to go. So now they were suddenly an Olympic team. Well, guess who got the flick from the team, and they were appointed a doctor and a psychologist. Right? And the athletes, because I asked the captain, Debbie, once they were going, I said, who massages you when you're overseas? She goes, the psychologist. And they didn't like that. So you mustn't rock the boat. Just do what you do devastatingly well. Our soft tissue work, that's all the athletes want. If they want other work done, they'll ask a physio if they want dry needling or whatever. But just stick to what we know and just do it very well.
Terrific.
Thanks.
Thank you, Max. Lovely. Do you pass it to Elizabeth? Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay. This is going to be very hard for me, because I have to remember a long way back. I'm here to talk about the history of massage. My mother did her massage course in 1966. So it sort of started at that time, right? Right, Wendy? Were you there? 1966. I was 13. And it wasn't a long course. And she decided to set up shop not long afterwards. At around about the same time, they introduced massage parlours from England. So we got a lot of calls. We were kids, we were answering the phone. Some very interesting questions. My mother was unfazed by it. She was so passionate about massage. And she did her course in Double Bay. And so it wasn't, it was pretty nice in Double Bay. But she also worked at a place called Silhouette. Anyone remember Silhouette? You do? Yeah. And that's where she got her chops. You massaged for 8 to 10 hours, non-stop. And it was full of European ladies all going like that. Because I used to go along as a kid and you'd hear them. The noise was deafening. Deafening. It was rubbing and hitting. But that was massage in those days. Yeah. And rubbing and hitting. Lots of tapotement. Yeah, and not very much else. And that was the way women stayed thin in those days. They went to Silhouette, they got on the vibrating belt, they got in a sauna with their heads sticking out, and they had massage. That's what massage was then, right? That was what massage was then. And not very many people had it. Australians didn't have it, only Europeans, as a rule. Then she graduated to working for she worked in Double Bay with an osteopath. So we worked, I decided I would do the course because I was, by the time I was 19, unemployable. And so she said, why don't you learn massage and work with me? So we did, and we worked together for 25 years. Funny stories? Well, hotels don't have that many funny stories attached to them, Catherine. But I'm talking about the history of massage and how it was perceived. Pat Harding taught me. Pat Harding, and it was very basic. You had your basic movements. You remember Pat Harding?
Was there anything around history taking, Elizabeth? Or
No
was that
history
nothing?
taking,
Yeah.
no, nothing.
Yep.
No, we didn't take history.
Just the technique.
It was all about, it was just a step above rubbing and
You did do
hitting.
anatomy, is it?
But we did. And I went to work for the osteopath, so I did 12-hour-a-day back massages. So I got good really quickly, and I got strong really quickly. And I worked there for quite some time with my mother until we left. But it was funny because when I learnt massage, it was a naturopathic college, so people were there studying other things. Everyone was a hippie. This was 1972. There were no, shoes, no deodorant, no haircuts, and it was just a whole lot of people natural and sweating and stuff, and it was a lot of fun, and everyone was very quirky because to do anything like that in 1972 or 3 was pretty weird. Yeah. But I didn't think it was because my mother did massage. I thought it was normal. And everyone around me did massage. So I actually thought, I'd never thought about massage as an unusual profession. And so we took it from there. She worked with Wendy Rose just to help set up the association too. And she helped to raise standards, I feel. But working in Double Bay, you couldn't have really low standards. People had great expectations. Our clients were still rich people and Hungarians, or rich Hungarians. That was our clientele. That's all we saw. I'm sorry to say, they didn't ask for sports massage. So that's what we did. That was our area, that was our field. We never got to do sports massage. But my mother then decided that she would open up a little college and we would teach massage.
How did that go?
You know, ironically, it went really well for her.
Yeah.
It was a great idea. We taught a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I had to do it too. It was just extra work. But we taught mainly out of selfishness because we wanted to get people to work for us, because we did hotel work and we had to send people out to hotels. My mother actually lobbied the hotels to get us in there. So she dressed us up nicely, made us look really respectable, and went to all the concierges, because prior to that there wasn't massage in hotels. It was a bit sleazy, probably. And we did that for a long time. We did that for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's why we trained all those people, and we trained them anyway. So that takes us up to about 19. Unfortunately, my mother was pretty much teaching almost until she died. She didn't have a life. Massage was her life. But she taught almost right up until about 5 months before she died.
So was she a member of AMT, Elizabeth?
Of course.
Or, yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah, she was with Wendy.
At the same time as you,
and-
Wendy.
and-
Yeah.
and Cynthia.
Yeah.
They used to get together and
Didn't she train Diana Glaser?
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we both did, yeah. I don't want to say anything about Diana. No, it was just a funny story because Diana had this idea. She was a radiographer. She's very smart, right? She was a smart girl. And she really wanted to go on a trip to the Antarctic. It was the inaugural trip to the Antarctic. She wanted extra money, so she thought, learn massage. And she worked very hard, and she got on that boat to Antarctica and threw up all the way there and all the way back, and it cost... Did you remember that story? Oh, poor Diana. She worked so hard to get there. But then she went on to great things.
Yeah, she did. Absolutely, yeah.
And I don't know, yeah. So, but I really liked Diana. She was terrific fun. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. That's been fascinating. Thank you.
Has it?
That's terrific.
Can't hear you.
Diana went on to teach anatomy for your mother's certificate course, and so I was,
No, Mark Deal did. Mark Deal was our anatomy teacher.
yeah, but Diana came too. She taught me, and then
Oh, okay.
encouraged me to go to
Yeah.
the tape.
Yeah, right.
She did a lot.
Yep.
I think she did a lot for the association.
Yes. Oh, she did.
She
Absolutely,
really
she did. Yeah.
And she was a lot of fun to
Thank
work
you, Elizabeth.
with. You're welcome.
That's fascinating. All four of you coming from very different directions and with different experiences of massage from the early years. So do people have any specific questions for anybody on the panel? Yes. Would you like the mic or...
I'm Wendy, and this is for sports massage for Max. I found in any dealings with sports massage, you're right, there's a really undervaluing and an underpaying of sports. Is that, and have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, you're not in it for the money. No,
Pass
that's
it
right.
Needless to say,
Oh, sorry.
I've said this is how much I'll work for, and I haven't got any more calls
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah, it's, as you said, we undervalue, so everyone thinks you're going to do it for free, but you can't. You know, obviously, we've all got to make $1.
You've got to have stars in your eyes because there's athletes there.
Yeah. And yet the other professions, the physios and sports psychiatrists, they'll just charge you out of the earth, not contribute to the team, and then come home, and then they're good at writing papers on what they did, and then they'll put more sports psychologists on the team. It's like, it's just my bugbear, but like what happened in Rio, say, with the swimming team, how they choked. The first thing I'm doing would be gearing in all the sports psychologists, because all this talk you could hear from the pool interviews and poor old Kate Campbell, that was all psychologist talk. It's not their coach talking or a good masseur, because, you know, who's been there and talks to them as well. That's why I don't want to talk about sports psychologists.
Maybe it's best we don't. Thank you, Max. Does anybody have any other questions? Yes. Would you like a mic? Well, I've got hundreds. Look.
I just was interested to find out, in the early days of massage here in Australia, you mentioned Hungarians, that were rich Hungarians. If I could go one step further, were they mainly male or female? Who
Oh,
looked
no,
for?
no. Equal opportunity Hungarians, yeah.
So,
Actually, mainly women.
mainly,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to compare it to today. The image in the public about massage, who is more likely to have a massage? Is it men or is it women when it first started off?
That's a good question, Gerhard. And maybe my guess would be it would depend the setting. It might be, you know, more
The
women
environment, yeah.
maybe in particular settings than men, but maybe not. Has anyone got a view on that?
I don't think there's any difference, to be honest. It depends where you are.
So popularity in massage has grown with both genders at an equal rate.
Do you think so, Wendy?
Well, in my business that I had with the Suntan Centre, I had just as many males as females. A Suntan Centre did attract a number of celebrities too, so it was interesting to meet the people that came for their suntans. But I don't know whether it was that setting or not, but I had just as many males as females. The first one I ever did was a female, and that was a suntan session, then a massage. But there were just as many males come in for treatments as well as females. But I do want to say too that in my first learning with Pat Harding, there were small groups of people that were training at that time. So you didn't get a lot of opportunity to practice. They encouraged you to practice on your friends and family like they probably still do today. But you had to look for other outlets then to sort of brush up on your newly learned skills. So one of the places I ended up doing on a Saturday night and sometimes on a Sunday was the Boulevard Hotel, where they had Turkish baths there. There was a Chinese lady running it, and it was all very legit, which was good. So I used to go along on a Saturday night.
What year was that?
Well, it would have been after I trained, so it would have been about 84, 85, round about there. So I used to do that on a Saturday night to brush up on my newly learned skills. It was a wonderful opportunity to meet people and to do that, because you were sort of a team of people. They had a lot of different steam rooms and things. I didn't ask what was going on with any of them. I was just part of the massage team. But we used to have a team of girls, and I also joined Val's team at one point too, when she did her hotel work. So you sort of took it where you could get it at that time. These days it's much easier, of course, because it's so well known, but then it wasn't well known.
Lovely. Thank you, Wendy.
Hi. Is there any connection in your mind between a massage therapist's chi, an ability to sense energy, and the ability to massage and be effective on the customer?
Does anybody like to answer that question about your ability to affect the client's chi? Was that correct?
Yes. We each have our own flow of energy, and that influences all sorts of people. As I've been in the industry for 20-odd years, I've become far more aware of people's energy around me. And I suspect that goes through my hands into people's bodies. And they're aware of it too. But I've never heard anybody talk about it.
No. Well,
I just whether you want to call it chi or whatever, I just call it intuition and experience, and how when an athlete comes into your room, how you feel with them, whether they're in a bad mood, you know, if it's bad chi that's coming up, but just from your personality, you know, something's happened. So I don't think it can be explained in those terms. I think it's just intuition. And also just like to say ability, like I'm not any better than you guys in the room at massage, but I do know, like, we should all be proud of ourselves, and if you ever do get on teams, we are as good as any soft tissue therapists around the world, because when you line up overseas at different venues, and you'll have the Soviets there and the East Germans there and the Chinese there, and you think, oh yeah, all those things you hear about them and how good they are. And then you see them doing things that you were taught not to do 20 years ago, and you realise, slapping and things like that. Then you realise that all the courses we do and all the soft tissue therapists, well, I don't, outside our association, I don't know anything, but in the association, should be proud of yourselves and have confidence in yourselves if you go and work on any team.
Yep. Thanks, Max.
We have time for one more. Here it is. Okay.
I've just got a question with the comparison for men and women again, but this is for the massage therapist's point of view. So when it first started, it was mainly male, calling them the masseurs. Mm-hmm. So this is mainly to Max. Have you seen like a big turnover, like you can see the amount of females to males here, and what does that affect? How has that affected the male massage industry?
Well, I believe male and female teams would like a male masseur on the team more often than a female masseur. My reasoning for that is the females, the total female teams I've worked with, they like to find like wives, they like to confide in a male, I think, and get a male perspective. And on all male teams, they like to confide in a male because they can tell you in male terms what they're thinking, swearing or whatever, but they wouldn't open up that way if there was a female masseur, even though she's good. I just find both genders would probably prefer a male, but having said that, and like you said, things going on now, there's more females, it's a bit discriminatory, they're only advertising for females, so blokes don't even get a look in, or maybe they should also ask the athletes, what's going on, or who they would like. I know the athletes can't totally control, who you take on a team, but they should get a general feeling, but that'll be squashed straight away by the doctors and the physios, whoever. I think there's more female masseurs going on teams.
How do you think that's affected the actual massage industry, with seeing that it started out with males and then the females have just come up?
Well, I don't know about the whole industry as such. So I can only talk on sporting teams.
Yeah,
I don't know how it's affected really the whole industry as such, but just from that small perspective of sporting teams in Australia. I don't know what the ratio is at the Institute in Canberra, the ratio of employing male to female masseurs now. I wouldn't have a clue now. But
that would be a nice research topic for you, Jodie, to explore. Okay. Were there any other questions,
I think
Peter?
we've got to keep moving on. There
tracking?
probably are, but we haven't got time right now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining me on stage and contributing.